Hey guys, welcome back.
And that's how we started. We're trying to figure out what we're talking about, because what we're talking about is actually figuring it out. I guess that's the best way to put it.
There's this myth that, or this misconception that you're always going to know what you're supposed to do all the time.
Yep.
Like you always have it figured out. I mean, and this craziest thing is like we're more than a decade apart. You and I. I'm 37.
Don't say my age. I'm a younger.
Yes.
It's more than a decade.
Yeah, there we go. It's more than a decade. So yeah, and here's the thing for me, right? And I'm gonna make it personal in that whenever I have conversations with somebody online, whether we're chatting and getting, talking stage and stuff, I'd mention my age. They're like, oh, cool. And I remember having a very frank conversation with one of my guy friends, and he said, listen, at the age that you're at, everybody expects you to have, excuse my French, but to have your shit together, right? Like, have all your ducks in a row. And I'm just like, wait, I'm trying to still get ducks. Like, I'm just gonna buy the ducks. I never mind training them to be in a row, because we tend to think that life turns out exactly, there's this blueprint that we'll all follow, and we're all running in the same blueprint, according to the blueprint. And then you find out that some of us fall outside of the blueprint. Never mind, some of us fall outside of the blueprint. There are those who will never even get a chance to exercise the blueprint.
So I don't know, you guys are gonna see today, I'm not gonna have my usual crazy energy, and I think that's because this topic is very deep to heart to me, like you're saying, we're age group apart, and I think a lot of things that I'm seeing with a lot of my peers, people that I know, is that the pressure is getting worse. And it's not just internal pressure anymore, it's external, of you being expected to have your shit figured out. Guys, it's okay. Like, I really genuinely want to say to you, it is okay for you not to know what you're doing, where you're going. It doesn't mean it's an excuse for you not to find some form of growth or pattern, but the reality is you're never really gonna go on a linear path. Like you say, you plan ABC and you get 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's really ever linear in any case, in anything. Like even healing, a lot of people are telling you like, okay, I'm gonna go for therapy, and like in 3 weeks time I'm gonna be and then you find that it's like grief, right? I learned that the healing comes in waves. I remember, and I was telling this to somebody who had just lost somebody, and I said to them, it's not a linear path. There's days when you're on top of it,
and there's days where
a simple song. I remember I was driving, because I lost my younger brother, right? And I was driving. I can tell you where I was driving in Pretoria immediately, like, and a song came on that he used to love, sent me over the edge. Like, this is a good 2 to 3 years after his passing,
but still that memory still lingers on.
Yeah, and there's moments when I'm home and I'm just like, I walk past his room, I walk into the room, and then it dawns on me, he'll never walk back into this room ever again.
That's deep.
But
you see, it's those things that like you don't see them coming, and I think that's genuinely what I want to talk about. Because guys, okay, we sold a lie and a fantasy that I think it's time we escape the matrix. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the education system, but the reality is that we are sold this dream: go to school, get a degree, and then get a job, or vice versa. Start a business and then everything's gonna go well. Guys, everything that you envision or most things that you plan, they will be failure. Start accepting failure for what it is. I think that's the biggest thing, because people don't understand that failure is not an enemy of yours. And failure is your friend. Without failure, you don't grow. If you don't prove, if everything was perfect, you wouldn't have learned the things that you needed to learn. You wouldn't have become the person you needed to become. And it's like you're saying that there's certain things that you don't really encounter or plan for, and the deepness about everything in life is that you expect yourself to be a certain person, and if you guys go back to the previous episodes, that please, by the way, thank you for subscribing, for liking, and if you're not, I'm no longer using my pretty face, but anyways,
what a wow.
If you go back to some of the previous episodes, you're gonna see that these things are linking in some form of way, even though we don't plan these things, but they're somehow linking, because we spoke about the idea of who are you to yourself, the best version of yourself, and the version that you want to become. Is this in alignment with what you want to achieve?
Because people follow blueprints that are not even aligned with who they are, right? Like there are people, and we get tricked into this thing of seeing somebody succeeding in a particular field, right? Like we're looking, oh, she's a chartered accountant, I'm also gonna go chartered accountancy. And then accountancy shows you flames.
Guys, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody's chapter 30. I've been saying we're not in the same book, but it's not the same story.
Yeah.
Don't.
We're not even in the same genre. And also the thing is, you know what scares me the most? And somebody said this before, it's being good at something that you were never gifted for, right? You can be just good enough,
bro,
to become a chartered accountant, but it is killing you. And I'm gonna it is killing you.
Thank you.
And for them, it's just like, yo, they're loving this whole thing. And you're like, I also want to be happy like them. Guess because you're not ever going to be as happy as they are. You may do the same work, but you're never going to enjoy it as much as they do, because for them it's gifting.
And that's the thing. I think gifting. It's I had this conversation with you earlier in the year. My profession, most people know me that I do graphic design. That's what they know me as. I'm known for. It's something that I can do. That to me is something I love to do. You understand? And I had to sit down and ask myself, what do I love to do? What is it that makes me happy? And then it's literally just helping people. And that's what I like about the show, because we're not really motivational speakers. We're generally just talking about the things that people want to talk about, but they don't have the platform to listen or to be heard. So guys, we hear you. We really do. And I actually want to say that, not to be real, I think there was a point where we were both unemployed, different phases in our lives.
3 years. 2019.
I meant after 6 months. Yes.
2019.
But like I said, somehow these episodes link, because now my story is, when I was unemployed, my biggest downfalls were my associates. Because when you're home now, you start seeing people that don't go to work either, and you start getting introduced to a certain lifestyle. You make certain decisions and everything. Understand? And you start losing yourself. So the main thing is habits. Habits, you either break them, you adapt them, or you replace them. And I think that's a conversation that a lot of people don't know. That you can either adapt habits that build you for the better or for the worst. And then most people think that the only way to get rid of a habit is basically by replacing it.
So habits are systems, right? Because your brain is wired for efficiency, right? There's the nerd in me coming out. It's a beautiful thing. If you, for instance, when I was starting to drive, because I was very involved, right? Because I love driving, right? I was paying attention. There was a time when I used to drive, and I'd feel like the radio is too loud for me to drive properly.
Oh yeah, like I can't see where I'm hearing. Like I get you.
Now there are days when I drive to work, guys, and I can't remember where I turned. But I got here. Like it's almost I'm on half autopilot, which is a scary thing, right? But it just shows you the power of the brain. It's the habits I've input into it the entire time driving, right? And now imagine how more powerful your life would be if you start putting certain habits into, like for instance, I'm trying to get into shape, right? Because not working does things to you.
As you can see, I'm drinking water, but because I know my audience, I'm not thirsty in that way. I just want to say for the record,
we're just drinking water, minding my own business.
Yes, I'm quenched. But anyways, I know these people, bro. Ever since I've been on the show as a guest, I keep on getting DMs and everything. Guys, I said I was a stripper in my previous life, not this one. No, guys, please stop asking me to come strip for you. There's nothing to strip. Okay, but anyways, thanks for the real stuff.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, bro.
But habits, right?
I'm just the guy. He's just the guy.
And we're trying to figure this thing out. So habits, for instance. So should we say where we work?
No.
It's okay.
See now,
No, we didn't have a nigga. So I park purposely very far from the office, but it's part of my workout regimen, right? There's a ton of stairs to get to the office. By the time I get to the office, it's proper cardio, and that's a habit that I had to get. I could very easily park like 2 minutes from the office, but it's now almost like a 5 to 10 minute walk.
Yes, and I think that's what I'm trying to say, that the best way to change a situation is to change your habits, because habits build situations. If you're stuck in a place and you feel stuck, that means there's a certain habit that you're doing that either you're aware of or unaware of that is keeping you where you are. Once you start that's the scary thing. Do you realize that habits control so much of us? Bro, something as simple as Ash, you know what, because I'm not working right now, I'm gonna wake up late. That's a bad habit, and you know that's a bad habit, because by you waking up late, you reduce more time in the day, time that you could be improving yourself. And that's the problem. A lot of you guys, honestly speaking, when you go into a work environment, when you finally do get that job, you're not ready.
Yeah, and it's also compounds. So I've learned, for instance, that if I don't do the things that I said I was going to do, that's where anxiety kicks in. Now imagine if you are not working, right, and someone says, what's the use of me being up at 7 or at 8 or at 6, right? You're gonna waste half the day. Then you feel like crap because now I can so like at 12.
Yeah.
Right? Now the anxiety is building all of a sudden, versus yes, I might not have something to go and do. Right.
Hey, I'm fit. And another thing, I remember there's a time I was working at an NGO in Pretoria. Big shout out to the City Labaton. I love what they're doing for the community, Mawupani. And I remember one person there, he came to me and he said, bro, I'm a guy. And for us guys, if you are unemployed and your friends are unemployed, in Kasi, they look down on you and be like, oh, well, no, you think you're better coffee. Better coffee thinks you think you're better than us by, trying to improve yourself. So he went to, we have basically skills workshops, and they had skills workshops and everything where you start improving yourself, learning your skill, whether it's computer, whatever. He said, I'd rather do this to spend my time learning something that might be beneficial to me than every day guys call me like, M52, hey, where are we going? What are we drinking? What are you, on a whole Wednesday? Like,
you know that topic of the whole what are we drinking, and this might be a little not controversial, but it's a hard look at ourselves, especially within the black community, right? And I think something you taught me, you made me aware of this, of how many alcohol outlets there are within black communities versus white communities.
Guys, so I have, there's always that court man like, oh,
man and his daughter were walking in the forest.
Those are always tell stories. So hey guys, so he told me a very interesting story, right? That take notice of something, and correct me if I'm wrong, but apartheid was a very beautifully designed system, the way it was designed to enslave us mentally. There are certain things that are still in place that you're not even aware are still in place and affecting you. If you go to a suburban area or any place that is filled, or if I put it that way, the approximate distance between every liquor store is around, let's say, 5 kilometers minimum. There's a huge distance between every liquor store. Now, if you go to Kasi, corner liquor store, corner liquor store, corner liquor store, and what that was called, I think it was called okay, basically how it works is that they provide you with the tools that you need in order to destroy yourself.
Sure.
You understand?
Yeah.
And they've had experiments about it that they put 10 rats in a box, for example, right? It's not saying that humans are compared to rats, but they put 10 rats in a box, and then they poked a little hole and said the only way for the rat to make it out of that hole is that it's going to lose its tail, right? 9 of those rats decided that I'm going out. Only 1 rat decided I'm gonna climb over this wall, and that rat fell a million times. It fell. The other rats were like, this one's an idiot, he's gonna stay here forever. That was the only rat that jumped over that box and maintained its tail. And the moral of that story was that in life, people will always look at their own difficulty and try bring it onto yours. The things that they can't do, but and then they're like, okay.
Yeah, they're trying to impose their own dogma from the bad experiences that they've had. Talking about just in terms of how we as and once again, I'm for everyone prospering, right? But at the same time, I also have very difficult conversations within our black circles, right? In the black community. There's something I said funny enough to my mom over the weekend, and I said to her, I was telling about my time in Pretoria, right? I got introduced to these things called soki. You only go in soki. Right, and you don't right, these dance. So here we are. Yes, we are here. But let me show you. In terms of just and I was saying to her, like, in terms of the things that we in the black community get up to, sometimes we really need to step back. And I'm all for us having our own thing. But sometimes our own things, we need to also question those things. So here's these things. I get invited by some of these Afrikaans kids, right? To like, listen, come and soki with us. Dude, when I get there, it's a hall full of kids. I can't remember there being alcohol. It was barely about the alcohol, but it was all about the music and the dancing and the socializing, right? I couldn't soki to save my life. I'm a brother, right? I can't tell you, I probably danced with like 5 or 6 different ladies, right? And they were all keen to teach me how to dance, right? And there was no like crazy weird stuff going on. It was just like, listen, let me teach you how to dance. It's my culture. But I remember thinking, last time when I went to Groove, when was the last time I had a solid, healthy interaction with a lady, right?
And I think that's the problem, guys. Okay, I'll admit I drink too, right? But I think I'm at this point now, and I'm gonna say this for everybody that drinks now. Don't drink for alcohol to create happiness. Drink in order to enhance happiness. Don't
Let's even
depend
enjoy
on the
it.
substance. Don't rely on the substance to make you happy.
Yeah.
That's why in a lot of relationships where like people can't talk to each other unless they're drunk or high or some form, then that's not a relationship. That's a club.
Yeah, like for instance,
You are in a club with this person because you're only there for a good time and not a long time.
so I remember just looking at these two worlds, right? Where first and foremost there was just this openness from these Afrikaans ladies, right? Amazing community of people just like, hey, listen, we're all here to have fun. There's mutual respect, right? And we all left like in a pretty good state of mind.
Yeah.
And you actually enjoy the evening. And I said to myself,
Hey man, there's no malume
right? And for me, what it taught me was, it also translates to how we as black people, between black brothers and black sisters, how we interact with each other, right? This morning I'm driving past Park Station, and there's a young lady who wants to cross the street, ne? So one share, and I look at her and I'm like, no, you can go through. She gave me this look. She just like gave me this attitude as she walked past, and I'm like, what is that all about, right? And you think, okay, yes, it's an isolated incident. It can't be every, but if we're honest with each other, as black folk, we're ranyatsana, like a lot. We're not kind to each other. And for me, it troubles me. It troubles me, and I get it. Some of us, it's situational because of the way we come from. We're all in survival mode, and I'm thinking we need to fix that. We need to fix that so that we're actually kind to each other. But that interaction when I went to that dance thing was such a culture shock, in that there was a thing of you simply just went, hey, listen, can I have this dance? Yeah, sure, let's dance. The song, and then you go search. I was like, try that, go groove.
So I think I think what we're trying to link everything into is that, guys, habits. Do you understand something as something that also qualifies as a habit? Because the habit of you going into circumstances and surroundings that you don't belong in, you are building onto them. Like I always say, or my mentor actually told me this, that patience doesn't necessarily mean waiting for something. Patience is that while waiting for whatever is manifesting, you are preparing for it. Exactly. And that's the thing, is that while instead of you preparing, you are building more negative habits onto it and onto it and onto it. And that's the best thing I can say, because it's not easy. I know there's certain days where you feel like it's pointless. There are certain people that are employed every day and they're not either enjoying their job or they want something more and everything. So
prep for the job that you want. Prep for it's something. And shout out to Francina. I have to give her props with this one.
We have to give a shoot, guys. Francina's probably gonna be dropping something too. That is my dream podcast person. Like, you understand when there's certain people, you look at them and like, yo, I wish I could make content like this, guys. Right. Big shout out. Like,
she introduced the topic of the better version of yourself, living as the ideal version of yourself. And I remember us having like this, I was having it via him, right? This conversation. And shout out to her for reminding us that there's a way for you to, because someone might ask, okay, OG, how do I start, this habit of living better, right? And it starts up here in the mindset.
Thank you.
Mindset, right? In that you start to think, okay, what does the ultimate OG or
guys, this guy's hand is on the gear. Like I'm listening, but in my mind I'm like, such gear or something. Yo.
And we're rolling.
We're rolling.
In that, what does the ultimate version of Untando look like, right? What time does he get up? What does he eat?
Yes.
Like, how does he speak? What content does he consume? Because a lot of us are trying to make changes sometimes, and it's all airy-fairy, and there's no actual solid concrete
plan. A lot
of
us envision the plan, but we don't see the vision. Like, how do I put this? Like, you see the things that you want in your future, but you don't see the person you are in that future.
And also the roadmap. Right, like what is the ultimate? So, guys, OG was laughing at me because we're parked to one of my favorite cars in the world. Right, there's a Range Rover Sport, like
I'm fit.
right here. It's black. Right here. Like it's pressure. I'm sitting here. I don't even own this car. Like my Polo, I had to sell my Polo during COVID. I'm sitting in my mother's car right now, right? I'm a Tyrone. I'm a regular Tyrone.
It's fine. But I get you. You get
me? But if the ultimate intender drives a Range Rover, right? I need to backtrack it. I need to reverse engineer it. How much is the installment for this car, right?
Yes.
Where am I parking this car? What's the installment for where, or the rental, or if the bond for where I'm parking this car? If I'm driving this car, what kind of clothing am I wearing? Like there's a podcast called Social Proof, and this lady said you need to choose where your kids are gonna go to school, where you're gonna shop, the kind of clothing you're gonna have, like the gym that you're gonna go to, right? When you have all of those things, and go do the amounts. Like go do the monthly requirements for that, because then it tells you the real truth, so that you're not working on a fantasy.
And then I'm gonna go back. See, I'm referring to the previous podcast. We spoke about fear in the last one, that don't let fear be your enemy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have this thing that also stops them, which is fear. They're like, I have an idea, or I want to do something, or I become someone by fear. You become your own biggest enemy.
Yeah. Like
yo man, this podcast, I think today's episode is generally for people who are just
trying to figure it out.
Like we trying to figure it out. Like literally when we started, we also trying to figure it out. I don't know how many times in life where I had a plan and it didn't work out, and then something better came along the lines, and then only after I'm like, oh, this is why this didn't work. You understand?
And there's no, if you're seeking perfection, I think I saw Uvisi Temego, I said this weekend on Twitter, and said, don't seek perfection, seek progress. This podcast is the epitome of us seeking progress. We're still trying to get the right lighting, the right sound, and I imagine if we try to figure all of that out before starting.
And when this guy was recording on Briggs the other day, not in this podcast. This guy was sitting outside in the sun on Briggs.
Yeah, shout out to the boys. So there's another podcast that I'm part of. It's called Two Bodyguards and Coffee, right? And we're sitting on Briggs in the backyard because no sanamabone. Like the lights were off, so we had to shoot outside.
And I love that. You see, we're doing this, guys. Whether there's budget, there's no budget, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Whatever clicks, whatever doesn't. But somebody needs to hear this right now. And whoever that person is, and you're hearing this right now, please get your shit together, like he said, politely.
Yeah.
Because there's more.
And no one else is going to do it for you. Now Robbins always says, listen, I hate to break it to you, but no one is coming. Like no one is coming to help you, to save you. You are, the fact that you have the problem that you have, right? That means you're an expert in the problem that you have.
Yes.
And you've survived yet another day in that problem. Can you imagine starting a podcast on surviving being unemployed? How do I do that?
Was it Denzel Washington? He was talking about something along the lines of okay, slipped my mind, but it will come back to me. It's more or less along the lines of you become what you practice.
Yeah.
If you practice bad habits, you increase those bad habits.
Yeah.
If you improve your good habits, you grow those bad habits. Like,
something can be, and you know what? Sometimes it's a thing of your mindset, right? Because I really believe mindset is a big game changer. When I wasn't working, right, sometimes I'd have to go pick up Oli to go spanning, right? And she works in Sandton, CBD. Like, I took those opportunities. Anytime she was like, listen, I'm going to land. For me, it was a field trip into where I want to land up, right?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like Sandton, like inner Sandton, to stretch your mind and remind yourself, hey, what push you and like, there are people that are living their best.
Guys, when you see me walking around Sandton, please don't think I'm a crazy homeless guy. It's just very refreshing. I walk around there sometimes just to
stretch yourself, or drive around the neighborhood. Or if it's in a state and you can't get in there, drive past it, see the houses that they stay in, like, or if you can, there are those like Boma Houghton where you can still drive around.
Walk around
like,
and drive around.
Walk around in the neighborhood.
I pictured myself in that situation. I'm like, how did I get this house if I was living here?
Yeah.
This tennis court, why would I have a tennis court? Whatever I'm doing, why? And like you're saying, reverse the process of being where you want to be.
Normalize yourself into where you're heading to. Like, make it your guys, get used to the store, the Pick and Pay, wherever they are, that, whether it's in Houghton or wherever, drive to that Pick and Pay, even if it's like, it's 5 kilometers and there's a Pick and Pay closest to you. No, I want to go to that Pick and Pay or that Woolies, right? To buy there so that it becomes my norm. It becomes my new normal.
Actually, lately I keep forgetting I don't have money. Like, sometimes I'm so I believe so much in myself, and I know there's $1 million in the bank account. I don't know where, somehow, my card. You understand? And that motion, I'm not saying anything, but it attracts.
Oh no, there's a conversation, or there's a talk that I want to listen to. This guy back in the day, this is the 80s. He says, for some of you, the reason why you'll never get what you're going for, you don't even have the feeling of what you're trying to get. Like have you ever just know what it feels like to be where you're heading. It's the conversation that you and I had right now. We walk past the bookstore, so don't ever put me in a bookstore. I will bankrupt myself, right? And so we walk past the bookstore and OG says to me, hey, listen, man, that's a great book. I wonder what it's like. Let's go check it out inside. And I said to you,
I'm just gonna buy it. This nigga just feels like, I'm gonna buy it. I'm like,
I was like, no, I can't go in there because I'm gonna buy it, right? And it came, I wasn't even thinking about it. Because I know the feeling of, so for you, it might be a thing of, they might not let you in the store, right? But go Diamond Walk. And I'm using materialistic things just to put into perspective. When was the last time you looked at a like, I love Salvatore Ferragamo, right? Like, I love the font, I love how they like, walk there, like, walk around where you're headed. Because how else are you going to know? How else are you going to see yourself? Can you see yourself in this Range Rover that's parked? Like, I generally, like,
it goes back to that thing, or if you can't handle a room, how are you going to handle a mansion? You need to understand how that mansion is maintained. How is it loaned? How is the security managed and everything, to understand. Guys, prepare for the blessings that you want to attain, because if you don't prepare for them, then why are they being given to you?
Like, you lose what you mismanage, right? So if you've got a room, that's all you've got to work with. Listen, make that room like it look like it's the Hilton. Like, let it be clean. Like, treat it like how you treat your mansion, right? Like, if you had you had servants and they're working throughout, you've got staff that are cleaning that house.
On that note, actually, sorry. That's the trick to breaking habits. By breaking habits, you start with the small things that you can break. Like, if you know that as you always
to make up your bed and
you make your bed. You make your bed, but you take shortcuts and it's not perfect because you're just lazy to do it. Start with that, because by you doing that every day, forcing your mind, because the mind automatically goes to easy things. We like easy things. Once you train your mind to like difficult things, there's a power in that.
Yeah, you might not be able to set the environment right now, but you can set the internal standard. Like, that you can control. Like, I move. There's something that like, I'm gonna show my age. Pastor David Mulapo used to say, Ariana, before he became prominent, before he became a medical doctor, and he started talking and walking like a medical doctor. Atwang, like, he changed. He was like, he went from, hey, I'm David Mulapo. He was like, no, I am Dr. David Mulapo. He started carrying himself in a certain way. That walk.
And he became
like, what is the ultimate version of you? What walk does that guy have? How does he walk? Like,
he doesn't walk. He takes jets. He gets driven around. But I get
you get me, like, and even if it's just a tiny thing, I did something this year. I remember saying I want to improve the aesthetics, right? So I started getting my haircuts done. Like, this is fresh today. Thank you. Shout out to my barber Vano at Springsmore Legend.
Guys, we can give shout
Legends Barbers, right?
Legends Barber,
And for me, it became a thing of, I at least want a minimum is at least twice a month get my haircut, right? Like, the goal is to get to once a week, just to keep things looking fresh. And when we get there, but the budget, right? But that's the thing. I even said, for instance, that I wanted to buy myself more fragrances. And I was like, I can't afford the fragrances, all of them that I want, right? But there's a list of them. But guess what? I went and got generics that literally smell like the real thing, because I'm normalizing.
Guys, all I'm going to say, Vugu Senzele, you're waiting, whether you're growing, whatever it is that is derailing you, whatever habits that you have that are just stopping you from becoming who you want to be, let's break them. Let's break generational curses. Let's break individual and self-harm in so many aspects of our lives, and let's break the stereotypical black culture that prevents us from prevailing into our prime.
But some things
I had to guys, it's the water.
I was looking at that phone like, okay, you are floating. Okay, amalgamated.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it? Hey, he's not make sure. He's not make sure.
Don't relieve me.
But in essence, guys, you don't have to live like where you're from. Like, and I know some people are like, oh no, you change, and you damn right I changed.
I will always represent Pitori in my blood. Always get but at the same time, I have to represent it in a manner that if I am not the version that you guys want me to be, then what am I representing?
And also, who said that Pitori has to be one thing only?
There's so much richness in that hood, bro. Like, Pitori,
it can be. You get me? Like, you can be from where you're from and be another version of, like, it's got so many, it's multifaceted, right? It doesn't have to be just one thing, but sometimes we stay on code and that keeps us broke.
Yeah, hey, street, hey. But go back to the previous episode when we spoke about street culture and everything, actually link it together. Guys, it's been a pleasure. We really appreciate. Let's do this, guys.
Yeah, mindset.
Mindset. Let's do this. I want to see a huge improvement from our audience. Like I said, it's not about the numbers, it's about the impact.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
In fact, it's his show. Like, I keep reminding guys, I'm a guest. I know I'm a constant guest,
No,
but
but
it's his show.
he keeps pulling a J. Cole on me. Like, he keeps murdering me on these features, right? And
As I exit the car.
but we'll say this. And it's something that I think Francina highlighted.
Yeah, sorry about that. We had a power cut.
Escom is reaching to phones
my
now.
battery. My battery.
Just one thing. If you can take just one habit from the ultimate version, you don't have to do the whole revamp all at once. Just, even if it's a thing of the ultimate version of me wakes up at 5 a.m. You know 5 a.m. sounds impossible, but it's not impossible.
It's not.
Then start with that. For this rest of this year, that's your thing. For the next 3 months, I'm just going to wake up at 5 a.m. and start figuring out what to do after that. And then you stack it.
No, big shout out to Francina for the conversation. I really can't wait to see what she's gonna give us.
Yeah.
See, now you're saying I'm J. Coling you. Now, no pressure, guys. Like, oh, I don't know what to expect from that hand, but guys, let's grow.
Yeah.
Big shout out to everybody who has opened doors for the podcast community. For everybody, guys. Like Moji, everyone. Just guys, we're giving guys your flowers today.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because we know that the journey isn't easy. We know, and that's why we're speaking about breaking habits and everything, because it's things that we also go through as humans. We're humans.
Yeah.
We are just guys.
Yeah. Awesome.
You see what I did there?
I see what you did.